wasn't born with talent, money, strength, confidence, or anything special. I was weak, mentally, emotionally, physically. I was insecure, scared, and overlooked. I grew up invisible, fading into the background, while others seemed to stride through life with purpose. Every day was a battle against the mirror, a fight with my own self-doubt, and a war against a world that never bothered to notice me. I was the underdog in every sense of the word, and deep down, I believed that was my fate. I remember a cold December night, the kind where the wind slices through your bones, when everything changed. I had just come from another soul-crushing day, trapped in a cycle of meaningless routines and hollow expectations that left me feeling more worthless than ever. My life was a series of empty rituals: rise, face the day, and then vanish into obscurity. On that night, as I trudged through rain-soaked streets, I felt an unfamiliar spark ignite deep within me. The neon lights, blurred by raindrops, painted the world in a kaleidoscope of missed chances and unrealized potential. It was there, under a flickering street lamp, that I realized the brutal truth. No one was coming to save me. Strength wasn't a birthright. It had to be built, forged in the crucible of struggle, and earned through relentless willpower. That night, as the wind howled and the city slept in oblivion, I made a choice. I would no longer cower in the shadows of mediocrity. I vowed to rewrite my destiny. I wouldn't remain the forgotten soul. I would transform into the warrior I had always admired from afar. Waiting for a miracle was over. My metamorphosis had to be self-made. The transformation began with pain. I plunged into grueling physical training, rising before dawn to attack the darkness with every step I took. My body cried out in agony as I pushed through exercises that left me bruised and battered, but every drop of sweat was a defiant promise. I was evolving. I embraced the suffering, not as a punishment, but as a necessary rite of passage. I dedicated countless hours in a rundown gym where the stale air was thick with the scent of old sweat and determination. The clang of weights and the rhythm of fists against punching bags became my new symphony. Every rep, every punch was an assertion of my will to change. I learned to appreciate the burn in my muscles, the sting of exhaustion, and the relentless pressure of the iron against my skin. I was constructing more than muscle. I was building an unbreakable spirit. My once fragile body began to reflect the fierce resolve burning within. Yet the transformation wasn't confined to physicality alone. The mental battle proved to be even more treacherous. Every setback, every failure reminded me of the scared, insecure kid I used to be. A kid who believed the world was too vast and indifferent. I had to deconstruct that old self, piece by painful piece, replacing self-doubt with unyielding confidence. I learned to confront my reflection and face the ghost of my former weakness. The mind, I realized, demanded discipline, just as the body did. I set strict routines, devoured books on philosophy and mental fortitude, and embraced meditation to seize control over my turbulent thoughts. There were nights when doubt crept in, when I lay awake, haunted by every memory of defeat. Yet each time, I chose to rise. I repeated my new mantra like a battle cry. Strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you become. That relentless chant silenced the whispers of my past, transforming every moment of despair into a stepping stone toward becoming more than I ever thought possible. The hardest lesson was accepting that sacrifice was the only path to greatness. I shed the fleeting comforts of a mediocre life, the empty distractions, the toxic ties that dragged me down, and the fleeting pleasures that offered no real fulfillment. My days turned into a series of calculated moves, each decision weighed against the cost of my future. I distanced myself from those who couldn't understand the fire blazing within me, choosing solitude over the superficial camaraderie of those content with the status quo. There were moments when isolation felt like a prison. I watched others live carefree lives, enjoying laughter and camaraderie, while I was locked in a relentless war with my inner demons. But I knew the path I had chosen was never meant to be easy. Every sacrifice, every lost connection was not a setback, but a down payment on a future where I would stand unyielding against all odds. One crisp morning, after months of grueling training and soul-searching, I finally looked into the mirror and saw a stranger, a man whose eyes burned with the intensity of unbreakable resolve. The face that stared back was etched with the scars of battles fought and won, and the body before me was sculpted by pain and perseverance. In that raw, honest moment, I understood the true essence of strength. I wasn't just physically powerful, I had become mentally and emotionally invincible. This transformation was not the end, but a metamorphosis into a warrior in every sense of the word. I began to perceive life through a new lens. Every challenge, no matter how intimidating, was an opportunity to prove my worth. I dove headfirst into each obstacle, not to prove something to others, but to constantly outdo my former self. My drive was no longer fueled by the need to outshine others. It was fueled by a deep, personal commitment to evolve continuously. I reveled in every confrontation, every hardship, as essential steps on my path to greatness. There were times I faltered. I stumbled in the darkness of early mornings, faltered under the crushing weight of my own expectations, and bled, both literally and metaphorically, on numerous occasions. I was never invincible. I was human. Yet, with each fall, I learned more about the limits I was capable of shattering. I embraced failure as a harsh but honest teacher, one that demanded relentless improvement and a resilience that could not be broken. On one grueling day, I found myself teetering on the edge of collapse. I had pushed every fiber of my being beyond its perceived limits. Sitting on the cold gym floor, amid the echoing sounds of my labored breaths, I questioned the cost of my journey. Was the sacrifice too high? Had I traded too much of my old life for a strength that might one day falter? In that silent moment, I remembered the promise made under that flickering street lamp, the vow to never allow fate to dictate my worth. With a fierce determination, I rose and resumed the fight. I understood then that true strength isn't measured by how many times you can push through. It's measured by how many times you rise after falling. Over time, the transformation that had once begun in the darkness emerged as a beacon. Others started to notice the shift in me. I was no longer the quiet, overlooked soul. I had become a force, someone who embodied an aggressive, competitive, no excuses mindset. My presence drew respect and a mix of admiration and intimidation from those who sensed the raw power forged through countless nights of hardship and tireless days of discipline. I never set out to become a role model. I was simply living my truth. Yet, my journey resonated with those who had ever felt broken or insignificant. They saw in me the potential for greatness, a reminder that strength isn't innate. It's forged in the fires of relentless perseverance. I had become the kind of person others either feared or aspired to emulate, not because I was born extraordinary, but because I earned every inch of my power through sweat, sacrifice, and an unwavering resolve. There were nights when the solitude weighed heavily, moments when the silence was a constant reminder of what I'd left behind. I recalled the faces of those I'd parted ways with, the opportunities sacrificed, and the relentless hours of battling my inner demons. Yet every encounter with darkness only served to strengthen my resolve. The battles within were the ones that truly defined me, and with every victory, I emerged more determined than ever. In the midst of this relentless pursuit, many tried to mimic my path. They saw my scars and triumphs and craved that same power. I didn't offer shortcuts or easy fixes. I made it clear, there are no shortcuts. There are no free passes in this war against yourself. I drove home the bitter truth. Every ounce of strength, every shred of progress comes at a price paid in blood, sweat, and sacrifice. This journey transformed not only my body, but my entire existence. I began to see beauty in the struggle, a kind of raw art in the relentless process of growth. I became addicted to the grind, the daily rituals of pushing past my limits and facing down my weaknesses. It was during these brutal, solitary moments that I discovered the depths of who I truly was. Looking back now, every bruise, every sleepless night, and every moment of despair stands as a testament to my evolution. My story isn't about overnight success or miraculous change. It's a raw, unfiltered account of persistence and the unbreakable human spirit. I learned that strength isn't something bestowed at birth. It's a masterpiece sculpted through hardship, sweat, and the relentless pursuit of self-mastery. Today, as I stand here, hardened by countless battles both outward and within, I know the journey never ends. New challenges will always arise, new adversaries waiting to test my resolve. Yet I embrace them, for each challenge is an opportunity to sharpen my edge and redefine what it means to be unstoppable. Here's the unvarnished truth. I wasn't born strong. I became it. Through every setback, every moment of self-doubt, and every grueling day of relentless training, I forged a strength that is entirely my own. And if you're willing to pay the fucking price, if you're ready to face your deepest fears, endure the pain, and wage a relentless war against your own weaknesses, know this: strength isn't something you inherit. It's something you earn, bit by agonizing bit. Every scar tells a story. Every bruise is a medal of honor in the ceaseless battle of self-improvement. I wear them proudly, not as reminders of when I was weak, but as symbols of the resilience that now defines me. I stand as living proof that the human spirit can undergo a radical transformation. Even the most unremarkable soul can rise from the ashes and become an unyielding force. So, to every man out there who's ever felt underestimated, overlooked, or trapped by his own limitations, listen up. You are not condemned to a life of mediocrity. Your strength is waiting to be unleashed, forged through your own relentless pursuit of greatness. Every moment you hesitate, every time you allow doubt to whisper in your ear, you delay the awakening of the warrior within. I challenge you now, step out of the shadows, embrace the grind, endure the pain, and wage your own war against mediocrity. It won't be easy. You'll face trials that push you to the brink. But remember, Every fight, every rise after a fall, carves out the legacy of your strength. I wasn't born strong, I became it. And if you're willing to pay the fucking price, you can too.